Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, wrote by J.K. Rowling.封面是这样的。有一张地图，Chapter 1 The Boy Who Lived. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Private Drive were prone to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious, because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Guanling's, which made drills. He was a big, beefy man with hardly any neck. Also, he did have a very large mustache. Mr. Dursley was thin and blond, and had nearly twice the usual amount of neck, which came in very useful, as she spent so much of her time craning over garden fences, spying on the neighbors. The Dursley had a small son called Dudley, and in their opinion, there was no finer boy anywhere. The Dursley had everything they wanted, but they also had a secret, and their greatest fear was that somebody would discover it. They didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out about the Potters. Miss Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister, but they hadn't met for several years. In fact, Mrs. Dursley pretended she didn't hear of her sister, because her sister and her good-for-nothing husband were as undurslyish as it was possible to be. The Dursleys shuddered to think what neighbors would say if the Potters arrived in the street. The Dursleys knew that Potters had a small son too, but they had never ever seen him. This boy was another good reason for keeping the Potters away. They didn't want Dudley mixing with a child like that. When Mr. and Mrs. Dursley woke up on the door, Great Tuesday, our story starts. There was nothing about the cloudy sky outside to suggest that strange and mysterious things would soon be happening all over the country. Mr. Dursley hummed as he picked out his most boring time for work, and Mrs. Dursley gossiped away happily as she wrestled a screaming Dudley into his high chair. None of them noticed a large dull oil flutter past the window. At 8:30, Mr. Dursley picked up his briefcase, packed Mrs. Dursley his mirror. It was now reading the sign that said private drive. No, looking at the sign, Cat couldn't read map or signs. Mr. Dursley gave himself a little shake and put the cat out of his mind. As he drove towards town, he thought of nothing except a large odor of trails he was hoping to get that day. But, on the edge of the town, trails were driven out of his mind by something else. As she sat in the usual morning traffic jam, he couldn't help noticing that there seemed to be a lot of strangely dressed people about. People in cloaks. Mr. Dursley couldn't bear people who dress in funny clothes. That get ups you so off with young people. He supposed this was some stupid new fashion. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel and his eyes fell on a hundred of these weirdos standing quite close by. They were whispering excitedly together. Mr. Dursley was enraged to see that a couple of them weren't young at all. Why is a man to be older than he was, and wearing an emerald green cloak? The nerve of him, but then it struck Mr. Dursley that this was probably some silly stunt. Their people were obviously collecting for something. Yes, that would be it. The traffic moved on, and a few minutes later, Mr. Dursley arrived in the Guanning's car park, his mind back on trails. 现在我带着大家已经读完了这本书的前3面，大概就是聊一下